Hello, sweet, beautiful souls. Welcome back to Divine Alignment. I am joined with a very beautiful soul, Wendy. I am so excited to have you here. Wendy, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Jasmine. I really appreciate you, and I'm so excited to be here.
I know, I'm so excited to have you. Do you want to just give everyone a little brief overview about who you are and what you do?
Okay. My name is Wendy Rosenthal. I am the founder of the um, transformational holistic coaching practice called Pathfinder One to One, where our focus is to focus our clients' uh, view internally so that they can transform their external world. And we build sovereign executives at Pathfinder One to One. And I'm also an applied astrologer and a student of the Kabbalah Center in Kabbalah for the last 30 years. So I try and combine all of my knowledge and learnings that I have put into my own practice in my own life over the last 30 years into my coaching, the the practical side, because I'm also a business person and have been for the last 25 years. And a lot of the things I was doing before I became a high performance coach is I worked with companies on how to increase their business through marketing and creating consumer experiences. So I've had to own P&Ls and I've had to be very practical, but I have always thought it better to inject a lot of spirituality into what I was doing practically.
Amazing. I love it so much. And Wendy and I actually just met like a few months ago. We met when I was in Austin during my visit there. I went to my first ever Kabbalah event, the Kabbalah New Moon event. And even though I've been studying Kabbalah for years now, I haven't been in I just haven't made it to one of the events. And so I went to the event in Austin, and Wendy was so sweet. She came and sat next to me. She invited me. She welcomed me with open arms. And we got to talking. She was like, we need to get coffee. And
Yep,
I was like, okay, well, it's meant to be. So we got coffee, and you guys, I could not even believe we were just like kindred souls, and it was such
totally.
an instant connection. And I just love, first of all, this work with Kabbalah. I find that anyone that I connect with via Kabbalah, like there's always some type of resonance there because this wisdom is just so deep and so vast. And so I've really been wanting to bring someone on to dive deeper into the Kabbalah, into the Kabbalistic astrology. And Wendy is like, when we got together, we were both like, I like was doing some of her human design and she was doing my astrology. So we're going to dive into all of that and some of the Kabbalistic astrology because I really like, and I know Wendy agrees, like this is like the cheat code to life. Learning about
Totally.
Kabbalistic astrology, learning about your astrology. And it's just like so fun. So I would love to hear, Wendy, if you would love to share with people. You began to get into it, but like how did you find Kabbalah and how did learning, I would love to hear like how the Kabbalistic astrology part, like how you dove deeper into that and how it's been changing your life.
So I found Kabbalah in my late 20s. And, I grew up in LA and there was a Kabbalah center in LA. And I'm one of those people, I'm super curious. And I was watching, nothing terrible was going on in my life, which a lot of times, you know, people go to spirituality when things are falling apart. So I kind of felt excited that I was just more curious. I wasn't liking the answers that I was getting from people around me in terms of asking why do things happen to people that are bad when they're so good, or why can't I feel my purpose? And so I think I was divinely guided to the Kabbalah Center in Los Angeles. And it was interesting from the first moment I started studying, I was like, oh my gosh, these are some of the answers that I've been asking, I've been looking for, and I've been asking for clarity and guidance on. And for me at that moment, it was actually not even spiritual. It was just like, oh my gosh, you're satisfying my curiosity. But from that moment on, I really wanted to learn the wisdom, but I also wanted to learn how to apply it into my life because I grew up in a really interesting place. I grew up in Beverly Hills, California, and for all of the glitter and gold that people feel like that comes, to you when you are growing up there. It was not an easy existence. And I was unhappy, and I just I wanted something that could help me make sense of the world. And for me, Kabbalah gives you literally the rules of life that apply to all of us. Doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter where you're from, it doesn't matter what religious faith that you align with. The rules of the universe are the rules of the universe. And I started to see that it didn't matter also if I looked at other spiritual modalities, the same rules were coming through, they were just coming through in different words. So for me, that meant truth. And for me, I realized that the way that Kabbalah shares it and frames it and connects with it resonated most with me. And that's why I have stuck with it for so long. I always had a passion for astrology. It started when I was young. Um, and when I started studying Kabbalah, I couldn't believe it that there is a whole, there's so much astrology that is associated with it as a modality. And there was actually Kabbalistic astrologers that are teachers in the Kabbalah Center. And so, of course, I've had my chart done many times in the Kabbalah Center because it's, always revealing to actually have people look at your natal chart that are different because they're always going to bring different perspectives. But what I found about Kabbalistic astrology is that it's it's ancient, rooted not just in the interest of the stars. It's connected to so much of uh, like our physical world. But not only that, it talks about how that astrology is the map of your soul, right? It is the toolbox that your soul actually asked for before it came into this world so that it would have not only the strengths that it needs, but also the kind of the weaknesses that it needs in order for you to actually fulfill your purpose in every lifetime that you are, you know, traipsing through, let's say. So I was just fascinated by it. And just through the years, I've learned it. I know today the Kabbalah Center actually has an academy where you can go learn it and learn more about it. But before that happened, I just started to take it up on my own and realize that I had a personal gift because I think every astrologer has a way of looking at charts that is unique to them. And my personal gift is actually very practical. And I look at charts as a way to connect the dots for people. So it isn't just about your sun sign. It isn't just about what house you're in. It's about how those all interplay with each other and how to help somebody see that when they have that lens on, how they're showing up in all of their different areas of their life and what they can do to really activate the strengths and use the weaknesses to enhance the strengths.
Totally. Totally. And I love the way that you put that because, you know, as I've started studying Kabbalah, I mean, like going back to that, first of all, it's like this wisdom, I've become like obsessed with it because it's just like the more I learn, it feels like it is just like revealing truth. It's
Yeah.
revealing like I can't, you know, when wisdom is for you, when it just feels like a remembering within you. It doesn't feel like like, oh, can you explain that again? I didn't really full, like, I don't get that. Like, it doesn't make sense. It's like when I hear it, it's like it lands in my body. And it's just,
Yes.
oh, of course. It feels like, of course, that's how the creator created. And like, it just works off like the laws of the universe. And I've never seen, I mean, to my like growing up personally, studying being like a Christian, there just wasn't really any talk of astrology. And like
Right.
even like when I was growing up, it was like I knew I was a Scorpio and like that was basically it. It was like I know, but like I don't really know anything that means other than like, oh, you're mysterious. And that was like kind of it. Whereas like
So much deeper than that,
it's
right?
so much deeper than that. And Kabbalah like distills it down into this way. And I love the view and the lens in which Kabbalah views astrology because like you were saying, it is like it's this like toolbox of how to approach your life and not just like what all of these things mean. It's like, okay, how do you move through life in a way that aligns with your birth chart and with your soul. I'm curious when you are looking at people's charts, what do you think is something that people could look at in their charts that would like really help them on their soul path?
Oh my gosh, Jasmine, it's like the whole picture. That's the thing. What, what you experienced as growing up. Like I know like you knew you were a Scorpio and you knew you could go to the newspaper and probably read a horoscope and some of it might ring true on a day, right? But it's interesting because your sun sign is is one of the in I always call it like the surface you, right? Because the sun to know your sun sign, all you need to know is the day you're born. You don't need to know any other detail. You don't need to know where you were born and you don't need to know the time you were born. You just need to know I was born on this day. So it's very surface and it's interesting because the sun is how we reflect ourselves to others. So it's how others see us, okay? But I bet a lot of people who are just kind of casual about astrology didn't know that you also have what's called your ascendant sign. A lot of times people call it your rising sign. Your rising sign is a much deeper look into who you are at your core and your depth. Okay. And in order to determine your rising sign, you need to know the time that you were born or thereabouts, and you need to know the place that you were born, right? And um, that rising sign is so much more impactful, really, on the rest of your being, more than even your sun sign. So, like, if I had to answer your question, I would say that knowing your rising sign as well, if you can find that out, that's also it might have make you have some aha moments that like just knowing your sun sign won't let you know. Okay, because you'll say, like, I'm an Aries, and I'm very Aries in a lot of ways, but my rising sign is Leo. So a lot of the Aries things don't connect to me, right? Because I'm like, yeah, I'm sort of that. But then when you add the Leo into it, it's like, oh, now I understand why I do that, right? So that's a very simple answer to your question, but every planet, your moon is sign is connected to how you process emotions. Your Mercury sign is telling you how you communicate and how what careers might be good for you and how you like to learn. Your Venus sign connects to your how you manage relationships. Um, the Jupiter represents your blessings, Saturn represents your limitations. Like so there's so much and the point is you want to connect all of it. And for me, I don't when I read charts, I only do two types of charts because I don't think I'm good at it and I don't entirely know I don't like forecasting. For me, I'm not good at forecasting. So there are some astrologers out there that are unbelievable with that. I'm not. So I like to look at what your soul chose to be born with, because for me, that's like your default system. If I can liken it to a computer system, that is your true operating system. And no matter what, no matter how much we evolve and how much we transform in our life, because we all do, we have lived experiences. So if I'm Aries, then I might be a softer Aries because I've learned how to control, let's say, my anger issues. If, Aries tend to have that. So, but default, if I'm pushed, I'm going right back there. So I like to know that. And as a coach, for me, it saves my clients money and my clients time for me to look at their chart because then I'm able to kind of hone in on the areas that I can really truly help them with more quickly.
Totally. That's such a good explanation. I know. Now, whenever I do coaching too, I'm always like, I want to know your human design. I want to know your astrology. I want to know your gene keys because it's like then we don't have to like spend all this time trying to like figure out the things in your unconscious mind and all of this. It's like we'll just go right to the source. We'll have it right there. Your roadmap is here, and then we'll know. Um,
Exactly.
will you remind me, what's your, so you're an Aries sun. What's your moon again?
I'm a Taurus moon.
Taurus moon and a Leo rising. Okay. That makes so much sense because anytime people say, I'm like, oh, of course.
Yeah, I like to be out there. I do. I love being in front of people and I love leading. I'm a natural leader. I try not to be sometimes and it never works. Um, even if I don't want to, even if I'm hiding in the corner, somehow, some way, I'm going to get pushed into that place because that's just the energy I project. And I'm really grateful for my Taurus moon because my Taurus moon really helps me keep like Taurus moons are very stable
Yeah,
emotionally, right? So with all the fire that I have, that Taurus moon really grounds me. It actually also helps me to manifest because Aries and Leos, they're really good at starting and, you know, proclaiming and doing all these great things up front, but sometimes they lack the I don't know, the will or the patience to really manifest. So that Taurus moon gives me a lot of power, I think.
I totally agree. So I just went to David Giam's event this past
Hmm.
weekend, and
Hmm.
we dove if for people who aren't familiar, I've like learned a ton through about Kabbalah through David Giam, taken lots of his courses and journeys, and been to a few of his seminars and events. And this past one, he was talking about Kabbalistic astrology, and he was saying like I found it so fascinating because he was talking about how to approach each sign in conflict.
Yep.
And I was like, this is like, we should be taught this when we are children because he was talking about the fire signs versus the
Hmm.
water versus
Hmm.
earth versus the air. And even compatibility, like that water signs go best with earth signs and air and fire go better together. And do you have something to say about that?
No, go. I'll let you finish and then I'll jump in.
But it's I mean, obviously you want to look at the other aspects and components of your chart, like you were showing, like you want to look at their Venus and all of these things. But I found it really fascinating about approaching each sign in conflict, how it's like, for example, like the fire signs or the air signs, like you cannot limit them. Anytime you place like constriction or limitation on them, they've checked out, they're done. They're like, nope, not available for whatever you're sharing. You put me in a
Yep.
box, I'm not available for it. And I'm like, oh, I so like my mom is an Aquarius, and I'm just like, this makes so much sense. Why? Anytime I tried to tell her what to do, she's like, I'm not doing it. I'm doing the
No,
opposite.
forget it. But also, like for example, air signs, they're super intellectual and
Yeah.
they're very in their head. So if you're approaching an air sign in a conflict, you have to understand they will probably come at it at you from a very logical perspective. And
Mhm.
if you're emotional,
Yeah.
like you're coming from the heart, they're coming from the head. It's very difficult. You're like speaking different languages. So knowing, like, for example, I live with three Geminis,
Oh my
and oh
God.
yeah, and if I'm going to get into an argument with them, if I'm going to have a debate, I know hands down they're going to outthink me. Even though I'm smart, it's not about intelligence. It's they know how to piece together information that could be completely not relevant to what's going on in the moment, but they'll bring it in and they'll know how to bring it in and they'll be very pedantic. They're very like precise.
Yeah.
So you could start as an argument in one way and then you can go to they'll all of a sudden turn it into something that is like if I say you do this all the time, the argument will go from I this is what they do to nobody does anything all the time. What are you talking about? And then it's like, I'm like, okay, but you know that's not what I mean. No, all the time is impossible. Nobody, and literally you'll spend 20 minutes on that because they learn how to deflect. So that's true for most air signs. But here's the thing about Kabbalistic astrology, and I love David Gaiman. I'm not gonna, I just want to show the depth of what you can go to for your listeners. Um, yes, air signs are all like that, but in Kabbalist astrology, we not only recognize the external element, so, air signs, fire signs, earth signs, water signs, we also know that every sign has a internal element. Okay. So, for example, Geminis are all air. So their intellect and their way of fighting is and dealing with conflict is even more intensely logical. A Libra, which is also an air sign, their internal element is water.
Yeah.
So they are much more emotional. They won't do it exactly how the other air signs will do because they are worried about making sure everybody feels okay because they're connected to that heart space. So in a fight with a Libra, it's a completely different scenario. So that's again why for me it's so important that we all have the opportunity to see who we are. Also, it again, if you go into conflict deeper, your Mars sign is going to be important, right? Because Mars is represents how we deal with conflict. So
And
you could
Mercury,
be
that's your communication.
Mercury too. So for example, like a Gemini could have a Gemini sun could have a Mars in Pisces, and that's going to really soften how they deal with conflict. In fact, they may start off feeling like on their high horse intellectually, but eventually, if you can wear them down a little bit, they're going to go into their heart space, and then it's going to become, oh my God, I'm hurt. Now you're hurting me. So you have to take your approach a little bit different. So it's great to know the generalities. And it's important to know, and what David was telling you is so true. Like a Leo, if you want to have a conflict with a Leo, walk into the room and tell them they look fabulous first.
Yeah, he was talking about that. Yeah, he was like,
Right?
give a Leo a compliment and then they'll listen to whatever you have to say.
100%. Aries, walk in and make an Aries laugh because Aries are big kids. So make them like, or tell them it's their idea that,
Yeah.
like, if you have to have a hard conversation, walk in and say, remember the other day you told me that you wanted to deal with this? Like, if it's their idea, they'll be like, yeah, so on board, no problem, right? Scorpios, you've got to be a little bit careful about because Scorpios, they lack trust and they also create movies inside their head. So if a Scorpio could, and they never forget. So you could be having a conflict with a Scorpio today about one topic, but they're going to go back emotionally to the 10 years ago when you hurt them, and they're going to bring that up. So if you're not prepared for that, you're going to get caught. So yeah, it's that's why I love astrology because it really it really is a great tool. And even if you know a little bit about it, you can change the way you engage in the world as a result.
Totally. Well, let's like finish up the so that people can have the because I'm sure people are like, well, what about for this sign or that sign? So for the water signs approaching conflict, so that would be like Scorpios, Cancers, and Pisces. You you're going to be in emotions. There's an emotional component and you need to make them feel safe emotionally. And then obviously, as you're saying, maybe you can elaborate on like the different ones because like for Scorpios, like you were saying, like we already know that you're going to be bringing up that conflict. We're just waiting for it, or
Right.
we're going to do it because we already know we're psychic. Like we
And
figured it
you've
out.
already imagined it, but that's true for all the water signs. So all the water signs are hyper intuitive,
Hmm.
right? So all of them, even though they're emotional, they're going to have a sense that something's not right.
Hmm.
Okay. How they deal with it individually, Scorpios, they go into movies where they create scenarios and unfortunately, Scorpios tend to be more self-destructive in the face of conflict.
Hmm.
Right. So they'll almost take themselves out of the picture before they even get there. Or they're gonna basically tell you all the reasons why that you're not trustworthy and all of the things. Like they'll cut the relationship if they feel the conflict's too heavy. You know, a Pisces, they don't like to deal with conflict at all. And what they do is they take the emotion on from you to themselves and then they hide their heads in the sand. Right. So
They're
it's like
avoidant. They're avoidant
totally
attachment.
avoidant. Exactly. And they're going to feel your pain, and that's going to make them beat themselves up a little bit more, right? Especially if they feel like if they're the cause,
Yeah.
right? So with Pisces, you have to make sure that you don't come hard at them. They'll melt and they'll hide, and you won't resolve anything.
Right.
You might feel better because you've said what you said, but it's not going to help that relationship. And Cancerians, they I don't want to say they're people pleasers. First of all, they're going to put up a hard shell, but inside they're dying. So if you don't give them that safety and security to express themselves without like, and if you don't tell them, hey, I know this is hard, let's talk about it, like I'm here for you, they're gonna be in a defensive shell, right? And they're gonna push advances away. And then they're gonna kind of creep back later and try and make it right, but it doesn't mean that the problem has been solved,
Mm.
right? So you have to be really sensitive. Cancerians are they're nurturers, and if they feel like they haven't done their job, that's almost like the worst thing that could happen to them. So that's the water signs. Air signs we talked about. Aquarians basically not only are they intellectual, but um, they're gonna rebel. So
Yeah.
you have to approach an Aquarian with uh, an option that gives them the ability not just to choose, because it isn't just about having choices or not being boxed in. It's about how they could do it differently. So if you're upset about something with an Aquarian, if you come to them and say, "Look, I'm really upset about this, but what are there any ways that you can do this differently so we can make it work?" Then they'll be like, "Oh, I can hear you now."
They're big thinkers, so you give them the opportunity to think bigger, and then they're all of a sudden on board.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then they'll start trying to figure out ways to make it exciting and different, and they might come with, they might bring a breakthrough to you,
Oh,
even if it's on a personal one-to-one, like, level. They may say, if you're having trouble in your relationship, Aquarians aren't always they don't do well always on the one-to-one level. So if you can bring something to them that says, look, this isn't just for me, this is for our family. Like we're changing the world, like appealing to that side of them that wants to, they rebel because they literally want the world to be a better place. So if you give them that, it's really powerful.
what's a br let's
Fires.
do a yeah, let's do a brief one for the fire and earth.
Yeah, so fire Aries, like I said, make them laugh, or make it about them for a minute. Leo's 100%, you have to validate and acknowledge them. So talk about their pain first. Talk about how, they've tried, that you recognize what they're doing. They need acknowledgement. I always say Leos want like their names on the buildings. So put a name on the building for them and they'll open up. Sagittarians, they don't like process. So any kind of conflict is kind of like process. They want to get to the end already. What's the bottom line? So in a conflict, they'll do one of two things. They'll totally dismiss you if they can't get, if you want to sit and talk with them for hours, forget it. You're like done. So if you're in a conflict with a Sagittarius, like just bring it to them, tell them,
Yeah.
right? And tell them what you need, right? And don't give them an option to like get out of a room. So like they like to run and get away. So with a Sagittarius, like sit them down in a closed space and say, I'm going to be here for we're going to be here for 5 minutes. I'm going to tell you how I feel. And I want you to understand that here's what I'm looking for at the end of it. So if you give them that, then they'll sit there for 5 minutes. If you don't, they're out.
That feels
Um,
similar to Capricorns too.
Well, Capricorns are super practical. So now, if you go to the earth signs, you've got Capricorn, Taurus, and Virgo. Capricorns, um, they're so methodical that they almost don't understand why conflict exists because, from their point of view, they're already always doing things on a very like step by step, thoughtful like basis, right? And so if you bring conflict to a Capricorn, they're going to practically figure out what the next steps are, and they are not going to go emotional,
Yeah.
right? So they're going to be like, okay, well, I can fix this. So if maybe we, like, and then literally they'll start to go through the steps. And a lot of times we want emotion in a conflict, and they're just not going to, they're going to be the stone faced, and the other thing that they do a lot is literally I'll say that Capricorns will turn their backs, like figuratively and physically, like they'll just walk away,
Mm.
right? Because they don't know how to deal with emotion. Now Capricorns, however, are deeply intuitive. They don't even know it.
Mhm.
Okay, so
It's a totally different
So
flavor of intuition that I notice from them. Like it's so fascinating.
it's the deepest, like
It comes
I'll
out of
say it this way,
nowhere.
Capricorns are the most psychic of all of the signs. They just don't know that they are.
Hmm.
Like for me, whenever I engage with Capricorns, I envision like this. If you ever been in like a cavern? Have you ever been on like, on your travels, like gone to those caverns where you go deep inside and there's stalagmites and stalactites, and then there's a river that is usually running through it at like a very deep level. That's where Capricorns are, but they have to get through all that rock to get
Yeah.
to it. So when they let go of the material world and their need for reassurance from what they can see and what they can touch, when they tap into that, it's like
It's
super
so
psychic.
fascinating because like my dad is a Capricorn and he's so business oriented, business, like practical, but
Hmm.
yet in his free times he's watching Ancient Aliens. And
Right.
like he's like I'm like you are so tuned into this world, but like in his everyday life he is practical and like matter of fact.
And when Capricorns are at their highest peak is when they marry the two,
Mm-hmm.
right? When they let go and they listen to the metaphysical and they bring that metaphysical wisdom into the world.
Yeah.
That's when they really are at their best, you
I've been
know?
watching my one of my best friends, she's a Capricorn too, and I've been watching her like through the years become more intuitive and it's like so beautiful. Like I'm watching like whenever she offers me advice, I'm like she's like, I'm just feeling or seeing this for you. I always listen. I always listen because from her I always get like she's very like practical, matter of fact. Like, I'm gonna reflect back to you what I'm seeing in this situation. And I'm like, thank you. Like, this is very like matter of fact that I appreciate this. But then she'll just like drop in this like little bit of like intuitive wisdom that I'm like, ooh, that was good.
Yeah, and that's when they're at their best. I mean, they are, again, for me, it's like that central, like you'll understand this, Jasmine, like that central column, that balanced column that says you can have both,
Yeah.
right? But Capricorns naturally shy away from the metaphysical because it's not physical, and because
Yeah.
they want money and they're very practical and they don't see that their connection to the metaphysical is unique and that it's a thin veil between the two. I mean, I can't tell you how many chart readings I've done where I have a Capricorn and I'm like, okay, it's just you and me. Tell me, you see things, don't you? You see ghosts, right? And they're all like, how did you know that? I'm like, and they're like, but I don't want to say anything. And I'm like, I know, I get you. But maybe if you at least start with accepting it, you're going to be okay.
Yeah.
So,
It's one of the last two signs.
so Virgos are incredibly able to see um, the imperfections in everything. So in conflict, you have to be prepared for a reversal. They're going to come and tell you all the things you've done wrong, right? So if you can prepare yourself for that and just understand that for me, Virgos do that because they also have the ability to see your greatest self. And so for them, it's almost annoying that you act the way that you do because they're like, you could be so perfect, you could be so much better. So that they're, so that nitpicking is oftentimes what makes conflicts with Virgos harder. That's number one. So you have to be prepared to not to let that stuff roll off your shoulder. The second thing is that Virgos beat themselves up sometimes even more than they're picking on you. So they may not be saying it, but internally, if you're pointing out their imperfections, and that's usually where conflict comes because somebody's done something that isn't, you know, perfect or near perfect, it's like they'll take it to the nth degree. So with a Virgo, the approach is to not is to tell them what the issue is, not without saying that they're not to blame or that they didn't do it, but to understand that you want to give them the beauty of what it is. Does that make sense? Like, um, so I know that you're really detail oriented, and I know for you that really works, but not all of us have the ability to see what you see. right? Like in detail. Like I fly at 30,000 feet, so I don't see stuff on the floor, right? So the conflict when the Virgo tells me, "Hey, you walked right over a piece of paper, why didn't you see it?" It's like, go say, "I know that you see those things. I don't." So it's to approach them understanding that they do have. Oh, the other thing you have to approach them with is the understanding is that they're probably right about whatever they're pointing out in you, which sucks.
Well, so because I'm a Virgo rising, and it's like
Yes.
not, it's always something that so I'm a Scorpio sun and moon for those who don't know, I'm a Scorpio sun and moon. I have lots of Scorpio in my chart. But the Virgo rising has always been that part of me that I'm like, I just don't like it. I just don't like it because I feel like I've experienced so much of the shadow aspects of Virgo, like the perfectionism, the
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
seeing the details, seeing the like I think anyone who has OCD tendencies, they have to have Virgo prominent in their chart because
100%. I will say that almost to a T.
it's
There, it's somewhere in there.
it has to be because I'm like it is so I mean, I will say like I really want to get to North Node and South Node too, because like my North Node is in Sagittarius. So I'm like embracing that by traveling. But oh my gosh, the things that it has poked and triggered in my Virgo rising are like, I don't have like everything is not perfect and organized and like the cleanliness, like I can't control it all. It's like all of my like OCD things, like, and like I've had this my whole life, like all of these like fixations, right? And I know we're talking about conflict, but when you're talking about these like traits, I'm like, it's so true. Like I go on a trip, granted I'm traveling all the time right now, but I would come home from a trip within 30 minutes, my suitcase is unpacked, I have a load of laundry going, the suitcase is away, and I have like it's all done. And like I never understood why my Sagittarius father, like that suitcase can be there for a week, not
Yep.
even
No
touch.
problem. I laugh because like I said, with my Aries and my Leo, I'm like, I don't need to, like what? I walk right over it. Like what? Who cares? Like why am I worrying about this? Right? It's not important in the big scheme. So for that Virgo in you, and by the way, you are not the first Virgo rising or Virgo to say I get mad at myself because I'm so particular. Like it's hard. It's not a
Exhausting.
it's exhausting. It's an exhausting challenge, but think about it. Your soul needs it for this world. And like I said, I choose to see it not as like I try and see it in the highest and best use. And that's why I say Virgos, they see perfection. Not most of us don't see that. Virgo and Virgo rising, they can see like I think that's one of the reasons you and I like connected very quickly. Like you see the best in people. So like you'll see what they can be, right? And I feel like that's one of the gifts I have. I just have this optimistic, like I can see that. And so if you can change your Virgo from it's obsessive and it's destructive, you can turn it around and say, look, I'm seeing the beauty of the world and I'm meant to be a messenger for how that can affect people's lives,
Well,
so it's turning it around.
I love that you brought that up too, because I do feel like I have shifted immensely from like the shadow aspect of it into like my whole thing now is about the miracle frequency. And I'm like,
Yeah.
there are miracles everywhere. Like, and a part of like I know part of what the creator has brought me here to do and like part of my soul's mission is to help people see the miracle frequency, that it's
Yeah.
everywhere. Like miracles are everywhere and the creator is everywhere. And the more that like I have tuned my eye to this and like I walk out like it's just like I think life is like the coolest thing when I view it through this lens and I'm like miracles are everywhere. We're a miracle and I can set this intention to be a conduit of miracles and I'm blown away by the things that happen and come into my reality. So I feel like the more I've like let go of like the I need to make it all perfect and just be like no, how can I channel and tune my lens to see miracles? It's like do I want to tune my lens to see the nitty-gritty details of why things aren't working, or do I want to tune my lens to see the details of how it's all working and how it's even, like you said, I see like the greatness and perfection in people and like their highest selves, and like that's a gift.
It is a huge gift that truly not everybody has the ability to do. And I would say also that one line that I will, if I'm working with a Virgo, I always try and remind them is that literally perfection is not for this world. It isn't. There is the only perfection in this world is what the creator created. The system is perfection. But if our souls chose to come back into this world for all I mean, that's a whole nother discussion about why do souls even want to come back. But if that is the rule, right, and that souls come back in this world, perfection does not exist for us, which is perfect, right? And so that's what I always tell my Virgo friends is like, if you embrace that for 1 minute, then you're going to be so much easier on yourself. Forget the rest of us, the yourself, that you are perfect in your imperfection because your imperfection is helping all of us work on our karmic debt. It's helping you work on your karmic debt. That's what we're here for, right? So so with Virgos, it's again trying to point, doing exactly what you're talking about in conflict, like trying to help them see that it's like you can't nitpick everything, but here's what you can do with what you're trying to tell me and work through that and they'll appreciate it, right? You'll be speaking their language because the reality of it is that most of us cannot live up to that Virgo ideal. So, and then lastly, just to close the loop, Taurians. So Taurians actually are very funny. They also see perfection, right? But they get comfortable in it. So their view of perfection is, oh, I have enough to eat. I'm really good at this. I have like the right number of friends, right? And that keeps them very comfortable. So if you're in a conflict with a Taurian, it it literally is going to be because you're asking them one of two things. You're either asking them to change, which is very hard for them to do because wherever they are, they're at home. Let's say it that way. Or you've really triggered them, right? The Taurus is the bull. And if it sees red at a certain level, it is going to explode because they're also a fire, and their internal element is fire. So they're very passionate. So you've either asked them to do something that they're not comfortable to do, or you've really pushed their buttons. So with a Taurus, the approach in the conflict is to, before you go in, is to recognize that they don't want to change, and what you might the cause of the conflict might be that, or you've really poked them. Like just imagine a bullfighter in a ring where they're stabbing the bull with the swords. Like you've done the fourth sword and it's really pissed off. So before having the conflict, it's important for you to ask yourself, where am I? Which one have I done? What's the conflict about? Is it that they don't want to change, that they're feeling like that they're stuck in a situation they don't want to get out of or they don't want to see? And how can I help them see the value of making that change? Or have I stuck that fourth sword in and it's like I've really triggered them? And asking yourself that before you approach the Taurus is going to be really more helpful for you in a conflict because then you're going to know which way to go. If it's I've really pissed them off, then it's about bringing them back to a place of comfort and take them in nature. Walk anytime a Taurus is upset, go sit in the backyard, go for a walk, like make sure they're in nature. Nature gives them particularly a very strong foundation. And if it's the one where things they don't want to address change, is to help them see the value of why you're at conflict with what that is.
Mm.
So, if it's like if you're a parent trying to kick a kid out of their house for their own good, like they're 20, they need to get, or they're 22, they've graduated college, they need to be out on their own. You would take the approach of, let me show you why this is a better way, right? So knowing that when you walk into conflict with a Taurus is always a good thing.
Okay. Okay, so this is good. So then when I was bringing up the compatibility, there felt like there was something you wanted to add. So because David had said, and I know that so maybe this is what you're going to add to like look at the Venus or something like that, but he had said that earth and water are compatible and fire and
Yeah.
air. So what do you?
So, so yes, he's 100% right. However, I wanted to add that it isn't just the elements. Like I said, I'm taking it a step deeper, and I don't know how David was talking about it, so I'm agreeing with everything he's saying, and there's a deeper level. You know, normally, let's say, uh, earth and fire is a challenge. Okay. However, if you look at the other aspects of the chart, the sun sign that's the fire and the earth sign that is the earth sign, which is very grounded. Actually, if you go into the rest of their chart, that person might have more fire in their chart in other aspects. So the earth sign. So the earth sign and the fire sign actually might be okay because there's so many other fire signs that are in that person's chart that it kind of offsets that, right? So, like I've known, I have a client that has an amazing chart. He's like 100% Capricorn. He's like Capricorn, sun and moon, but everything else in his chart is like Aries or Leo. So he acts more like the Aries Leo than he does the Capricorn. So it's important to know that it is a guide, number one. So
Mhm.
it doesn't mean, hey, if you're an earth sign, don't ever date a fire sign.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. The second thing is that it is our job in this world to overcome our nature. So if there's other aspects in the charts of those two people that will support that overcoming, it's also okay because maybe that's their karmic debt. Maybe that's what they're supposed to do. So, but like for example, like I don't know if you want me to say this, but I looked at you in a relationship and I looked at your Venus signs
Mhm.
and your Venus signs made me say to you that on one aspect, it's very compatible, but on another aspect, there's a lot of like discord,
Mhm.
right? And it really didn't matter at that point what your sun signs were because I could see where your conflict was going to be just in knowing what your Venus signs are. So I guess I'm trying to say that not that David oversimplified, but this is why I recommend to every single person, whether it's with me, with you, or some other astrologer, have your chart done.
Mhm. Totally, because there are these, I mean, it's a nuanced thing, and that it's this is why we have all of the aspects. So I
Yeah.
would love, so I had Wendy did a little reading for me and my chart, and I thought it'd be really fun for you to bring up some of the things in my chart to show people like how we can look at, because everyone wants to know like why are we here? Why, like what's my purpose? What am I doing? So I think it'd be really fun to identify some of the aspects, use my chart as an example of
Okay.
like how we find what we're here to do and like what our soul's purpose is. Because you had like talked about some of the like I have so much water in my chart and like
Yeah.
how that is like it's such a gift and a blessing, but also like it's also a challenge too. So are there any like key things that you could share that I think would be like beneficial for people to see and look at in their charts based off of my?
Oh, again, it depends on the question that they want to ask. But like if you're talking about purpose, so for example, you know, for me, a lot of times I look at the Jupiter, at the
Okay.
planet Jupiter, because Jupiter is the place of our expansion,
Yeah.
right? That's like where we are expanding our comfort zone. We're really aligned with the universe. We're operating at what our best is. So it's interesting to me because you're Scorpio in a lot of places, right? Your Scorpio and Sun, your Scorpio and Moon, your Scorpio in Mercury. So we talked about a little bit about how you have very, 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 very deep intuition. You are very connected to psychic abilities, and you have an amazing, like you have a knowing that runs very deep. And your Jupiter is in Libra. Okay. Now Libra is a sign. Librans are very friendly. They're very connected. They're like they're meant to be out in the world. Librans, right? And Geminis, they love to make friends. They're like the happiest sign of the zodiac. Librans are always usually in good moods, right? Um, and they are very concerned about how everybody else is feeling, right? They can tend to be on the shadow side, people pleasers, not in a positive way, but they are very connected because their internal aspect is also water. So they feel everybody. So for you, your nature is to be very closed with your intuition, to use it in a concealed way, to want to not want to share it. That's like your default nature, right? Because it's your mystery to know. But that Jupiter in Libra pushes you out and says, this is stuff you got to tell people. Like
Oh, that's
you
so
have to share
fascinating.
it with the world, right? If you didn't have that Jupiter in Libra, I would think it would be much harder for you to be on social media, to be doing your podcast, because that even with the Mercury in Scorpio, everything needs to be hidden and concealed and yours and protected and only wanting to give when it's really like appropriate. So for you, your purpose to me is clear. Like you need to use your literal intuitive gifts, but it's for a bigger purpose because otherwise your Jupiter would not be in Libra.
Mhm.
Okay. So it's really important for you it's also helpful for you, by the way, because Librans are very concerned about the justice of things, the right? The balance of the world. Like everybody should be treated fairly. Whereas Scorpios are a little bit
Don't care.
no, they are it's how they relate it to themselves. Where the Librans like, I just want everybody to be happy. I don't care how I am. They're almost polar opposites in that respect, right? A Libran is like hyper concerned. Are you okay? Like, do you have everything you need? Like, to the point where they put themselves last. Well, the Scorpio wants to know all the information, but they kind of want to use it for themselves, right? So when I see this really big contrast, right? To me, that's saying like, can you imagine what you could do with your purpose if you were able to have that deep Scorpion intuition, but you are able to make it so that it's used in a way that is elevating not only the people that are around you, but the world. Like it's putting balance into the world. Like you can see, and then you add your Virgo, like that detail, right? Like then you are able, and creativity, by the way, the Virgo rising, very, 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 very creative. So again, this is what allows that Scorpio to come out of the dark shadows and like be creative and put yourself out on a podcast and be creative with your posts and to have the desire to share it with others. So you are, for me, what you're doing is very much aligned with what you should be doing, the purpose of it. Now we could talk also about the shadow sides, how to not go into self-destruction, how to make sure you're balanced with that Scorpio energy, that you don't let it um uh like the fear and the lack of trust that comes with Scorpio. Like the Scorpio tells you you have to conceal it because somebody might think you're wrong, or somebody might, and then the Virgo reinforces that. And then it becomes like a downward cycle instead of this outward, hey, like I need to be with people. And by the way, because sorry, I'm just looking, your North Node is in Sagittarius. Again, that's another indicator that this isn't, Sagittarians are like the best teachers, right? They're the best like college professors and people who are able to express wisdom because they are really um they're a fire sign with an internal air aspect. So they're passionate and intellectual all at the same time. So they take in the intellect that they are constantly seeking, and they turn it into things that can be used because they get passionate about it. So your passion and that North Node is is pushing you also to be out there, right? So for me, it's like this, uh, I don't want to put a negative connotation around it, but a spiritual teacher, a spiritual guide is very much in the charts for you. And then all your generational planets also, the Pluto and Neptune and Uranus are also those deep intuitive signs, Capricorn and Cancer. So like you're just swimming in psychic ability.
I, that's a should make that my tagline, swimming in psychic ability. That's a good one. Um,
But it's not to be withheld. That's the point.
and that's what's so fascinating when you talk about that though, because I have like I've always kind of felt this inner pull of like I remember what just recently I was like deleting things on my phone, and I remember one time being in nature and like talking to the creator, and I was like, creator, like can I just do this? Can it just be you and me in nature, and like you just giving me downloads and me just being here with you? Like I don't like the rest of the world like having to go and share it and do it. And then the creator was like, but I'm in everyone. And so you're going to be learning through everyone, and you're going to be you have to like complete the feedback loop. It's the infinity sign. Like you have to receive the wisdom and then give it. And I was like, that was such a profound moment for me because I do feel this inner like, oh, sometimes it feels so like sacred that I'm like, I don't know if I should share it. But whenever I do share it, and it's really even working like, because as a projector, we are supposed to like wait for the invitation. So when I do feel like there is that appropriate invitation or channel, like then it is received.
Right. And also it's about learning how to use that connection to the creator, to your spirit team, to nature to help guide you when it is the right time,
Yes.
right? So instead of being closed down, which the Scorpio like has all this knowledge, instead of closing it down, it's like asking to be shown when it's the right time. But there's no question that, again, from like the 5 minutes I mean, I did look at your chart before, but I haven't like studied it intently. But just the brief looking at it, it's like, my goodness, you are, I mean, your Mars is in Cancer as well. Like all you desire is to like nurture people. Like when you think about things that you want, I imagine that literally, if you just think about it, the first thought is about others. Then you might hit into the Scorpio for me kind of thing. But I guarantee you, your first thought is going to be, how can I make this work for everybody? Or how can I help others? Or how is this going to serve? Or how is this going to keep, me and others and people I love safe and secure? Like your desires are led by others in a lot of ways, which for you, I would say you need to work on because that isn't a great way of avoiding some of the things that when you put yourself out there might feel uncomfortable to you, right? So it's a great way of like keeping it a little bit more concealed. And then your Saturn, so interestingly, your Saturn, which is the planet of limited beliefs, as one of the many things, is in Aquarius.
Mm.
So it's no shock that you came to an Aquarius mom because it's she's going to reinforce those limited beliefs because we all need something to work against. So the limited beliefs of whatever you feel are like Aquarians want to be out there, you probably look at being out there as like the worst thing ever. Like, look, she's doing too much, she's rebelling against everything, she's trying to change too much. Let's just keep it, like so you're seeing what it is in real time that actually you want to embrace,
Mhm.
and your soul picks somebody that could show you that contrast to help you realize that you have the power to change the world with what your gifts are.
Mhm.
And you also have the tools to do it because you have the, the Sagittarius North Node, and because you have the Jupiter in Libra, like the tools are there. Now it's about reframing what that rebelliousness or what that leadership looks like, and embracing the sides of it that are really important. Now, another thing about um, Aquarians, if it's not in Saturn, is that Aquarians, they often are so busy changing the world, they forget to look at people one on one, right? So you almost have the opposite. So in that position, it's like you almost look too much one on one, where your gift needs to be for more than one on one. So I'm not saying don't do one on one work. I'm saying there's a belief system that says that's where you should stay instead of actually taking it beyond.
Yeah, no, I've definitely felt that. And so then what about the Venus? Because both my Venus and my North Node are Sagittarius. Because Venus is also love and money, right?
It's love, money, and relationship to ourselves. But it's not the only place where you have money. Money can also come through Mercury because that's where career and like
Oh,
your professional world is. So it's kind of a
and
blend.
mine's in Scorpio, right?
Yeah. So you're set with you're good with money. I like the Mercury in Scorpio. Um, what the Venus in Sagittarius is, again, yes, it's about money, but the Sagittarians, sometimes they attract a lot of money, but they don't always keep hold of it
Hmm.
because they like to experience, they like experiences.
Right.
They like to explore, and they're like, yeah, I have money, I'll go do this, right?
Which that's
So
like
that,
not really me. I've always been pretty good at like saving.
but that's because you have the Mercury in Scorpio. That's what I'm saying. It you have a nice balance,
Right.
right? But you're willing to go out there,
Yes.
right? So it's for you, it's about understanding that Venus in Sagittarius draws in money, and then your Mercury in Scorpio helps you save it.
That's really fascinating. Okay, this is
Okay.
fascinating.
Also, the Mars in Cancer. You're saving because also your Mars is in Cancer, so you always want a safety net. So
Yes.
that's also coming into play, right? That Mars, the desire to be safe and secure, makes sure that you always have savings.
That makes a lot of sense too. Yeah. Okay. Because yeah, I don't see that in Sagittarius people, but it makes sense that the other.
It isn't in Sagittarius people. That's what
Yeah.
I'm saying. They're great at drawing money. There's not a problem. Like, because they're Sagittarians or fire signs, their people want to be around Sagittarians. They're interesting and they have so much wisdom, and they've usually traveled a lot or had lots of experiences. So people are always wanting to be around Sagittarians, and Sagittarians are smart and they see things in really unique perspectives. They're also great like igniters, right? So they start things, but they also, again, like all the fire signs, they peter out,
Yeah.
like because always on to the next thing, and
Next thing, next thing,
so
next thing. Hmm.
sorry.
It's always just like the next thing, the next thing, the next thing.
Exactly. They don't
Yeah.
like process. So they don't like to stick around. Like they want to know what the end game is. And it's like if they don't know the end game, it's like, okay, next.
So like would a fire sign probably they should work like if they're to do some type of work or would they benefit from having an earth sign partner or business
A hundred
partner?
percent. A
Okay.
100%.
That makes
There's
yeah.
an old saying like if you're going to start a business and you want it to be successful, have an Aries, a Taurus, and a Virgo. The Aries will
Gosh.
come up with all the great ideas. The Taurus will make it happen because they work really hard, and the Virgo makes sure the money is safe, secure, and growing. So, and because they're so detail oriented, they'll always know where the money is. So,
That's good.
yeah, but it's also working, it's like making sure that, so for example, personally, I'm kind of a conundrum because I have a lot of fire in my chart, um, but I also have a Taurus moon, and that Taurus moon helps me be more aware. Now, I'm not always good at saving, but at least I have that like that emotional, like, okay, I want to make sure everything's okay. Like I want to be stable, right? So that helps me. But
Mhm.
in business, yes, for sure. And again, it doesn't have to be the sun sign, just somewhere in the, like you want to make sure that there's earth in there so that it can help you at least manage your money. It doesn't have to be in business, but just make sure in terms of managing money.
That makes sense because and that because I don't have like a lot of earth in my chart. I have so much more water, but um which has made me feel sometimes like it's hard to also like similar to air signs to like the follow through of like seeing things through because when there isn't like that grounding energy, it's hard.
Yeah. Well, it's hard. And also, with the water sign, again, Scorpios are great manifestors, by the way, even though they're a water sign, but they have an internal fire. They're really good manifestors. They get things done, right? But then they're so afraid. They don't, the results aren't always great. So I actually like Scorpio, people with Scorpio in them in terms of business and in terms of manifestation. I just wouldn't necessarily give my money to a Scorpio to manage it,
Okay, that makes sense. So you'd probably
you
want to
know?
pick like a Taurus or a Capricorn or a Virgo.
Yeah, somebody who has that in their chart someplace that's going to be, more grounded, not driven by fear or instinct. But again, Scorpio, I've known some very wealthy Scorpios because they have great intuition. So they actually read markets really well, right? They have great like they listen when they listen to their instinct. They're really same with Capricorn.
Yeah.
So, it's um yeah, it's just again, it's knowing who you are and what aligns best with you for that. Like, what do you need? You know, it's
Mhm.
what do you need, Jasmine, looking at your chart, what do you need in order to make sure that you have the right people around you to help you elevate all the things that we're talking about?
Yeah,
That's what it is.
so much sense. And doing like a little bit of pivot before we wrap up because I feel like the all of this astrology, I mean, I'm like, my gosh, we could talk about the astrology part. Like it's so fun and there's so much to dive into, but I love how much it complements Kabbalah because Kabbalah is like, we were talking about earlier, I recently had this like I just shared a video about it the other day because I had this like visceral awareness of like I really believe that I've done so much work like over like I've had health stuff like since I was started like 2 years old. I was like had health challenges and all the way up through most of my life, which has led to like opening my intuitive abilities and it's been like a huge catalyst for me. But everyone talks about like balancing your nervous system and working with the somatic work and all of these things. And I had this like awareness the other day. And I was like, you know what has balanced my nervous system more than any somatic practice, anything I have done, and that is this Kabbalistic belief that everything is perfect. Everything is exactly as the creator has desired and intended it to be. And people will come at that and say, "Oh, so you're saying war is good and you're saying that violence." And it's like, but it's all meant to be. Like it's all leading to a greater purpose. We learn through challenges. We learn through these things that the opposing force. It's like this universal law, the law of balance, where there's good, there's bad, and where there's bad, there's good. It's all the same. And for me, like coming into this deep, like visceral, somatic knowing that I'm like, oh my gosh, it's all, it's all divinely and intentionally created. Yeah, please share. What do you have to add?
Yes, it is. And if you look at everything in the world, if you look at the creator as really truly being connected to each one of us, all 8 billion of us, right? We're born in the place that our soul and the creator decide is the best place for us to do our karmic work. Okay. In Kabbalah, it's called tikkun, right?
Yeah,
Like,
do you want to tell
so
people what a tikkun, what their tikkun is?
So
Like
your tikkun,
definition.
the easiest way I can explain it is it's your karmic debt. It's the work. If you can imagine, all of our souls want to grow. Why do our souls want to grow? Because we want to get closer to a reunification with the creator. We want to be closer to the creator in this world and in the metaphysical world. We need to be in this world because we can't do that work in the metaphysical world because there is perfection there,
Yes.
right? So we have to come into this world to do that work. And our our cocoon is acquired over lifetimes, and it is it's part of our purpose. Our purpose is to rise above that, to transform it, and to elevate it so that we we can be closer to the creator, whatever that means. So I'll give you a quick example. Apparently, from many lifetimes, because of a lifetime I had hundreds of years ago, I had a fear of having children. And apparently, when it was looked in my chart, that fear translated over many lifetimes. I never, in each iteration, I never had kids because I was too afraid. But I was always around kids and I was always trying to help kids. I just never had them. And in this lifetime, I really wanted to explore why, why don't I, what am I afraid of? And spiritually what it is. And it's a big cocoon. And I'm an Aries and I'm a Leo rising, which is all about ego and me, like putting myself first. So through the work that I did with Kabbalah at the Kabbalah Center with the teachers, I went through that process. And it took 5 years from the time I asked the first question of why to delivering my son. But at 46, I was blessed with a child, right? But that process of going through why and making the shifts and really understanding what it is to come from my ego versus putting others first, and all the work I had to do, whatever that was, and all of the little things that happened along the way, Jasmine, that were put in my way by the creator because I needed them to actually overcome this, resulted in my son. In the same way, unfortunately, that some souls need to be caught in the middle of a war for whatever that reason is. And some souls, unfortunately and horribly, need to come to people who hurt them and abuse them. And it's not that it's the creator doesn't love you or isn't or is punishing you, but Kabbalah believes that you and the creator, like before you came in this world, you chose that and you hoped for it and you wanted those scenarios because you wanted your soul to have the chance to do the work. And we don't have one cocoon, by the way. It's not like, oh, I had my son and now I'm like, I'm done. No.
Right.
We're very layered people. We have lots of things we get to work on in this world. But that's why, for me, Kabbalah answered the questions of why maybe bad things happen to good people. It's
Totally.
not about it happening to them, it's happening for them so that they have the opportunity to make choices to grow their desire, to grow their connection with themselves, with their families, with other people, and with the universe and the creator.
Yeah. Oh, that's really beautifully said. I would love if you could share the story that you shared. So when we were at this new moon event and they were talking about this child, the mother was about to deliver her child and she was needing to do a C-section and she was like trying to figure out like, well, should I have it at this time or this time because it would change the sign of the child? And the person said, well, the Kabbalah said, well, connect to the soul of your child, but no, at the end of the day, it's choiceless. The creator will choose for you, that soul will choose for you. And then you shared this story that you had like such a similar, I would love for you to share that story because that
Sure.
would be so cool.
So I was pregnant with my son and I had to have a C-section. I was not happy about it. I wanted to try to have a natural birth, but it wasn't meant to be. And so we picked, it's funny, his birthday is the new moon of Gemini. So we picked that day and they told me to come in at very early in the morning and that we would go into the operating room at 8 a.m. And so we get there and honestly, for a person as old as I was, I had a great pregnancy. It was easy. It was fun. I loved it. And nothing was wrong. I mean, the last week before you're due to give birth, you're like at the doctor every day and nothing was wrong. And then all of a sudden I'm sitting in the hospital room waiting to go down to the operating room and my right leg like swells up. And I was like, what is going on? Like I don't feel bad, but my leg literally became like a tree trunk. And so when the doctor came in, the OBGYN who was going to do the delivery, I said, "Doctor, before we go, like I just look at my leg." And she's like, "Oh yeah, that's odd. That hasn't, I mean, I've been seeing you. That hasn't happened at all." And I said, "I know, it's weird." And she's like, "Okay, let's delay. Let's go down and get, some x-rays. We want to run a couple tests. I want to make sure all the veins are, there's blood flow and there's no clots because we don't want to open you up and have clots." And I'm like, "Okay, fine, whatever." We go through the whole thing. And this is like 7 in the morning. And by the time I finish, she comes back, she says, "I don't know why your leg is swollen up like this, but from what I can see, there's nothing. There's nothing. So let's go." And so I'm like, "Okay." So we go in, and by the time he was born at 10:12, which should have been born at, 2.5 hours beforehand, he came out as a Leo rising instead of a Cancer rising, right? Because there's like 2 hours difference. And when I conveyed the story to my teachers in the Kabbalah Center, they were like, "Clearly, your son needs to be a leader. Clearly, he needs to be out there because he waited. That happened because your son wanted to be born 2 hours later. And so he probably, somewhere in the womb, sat on a blood vessel or something and made your leg blow up because he wasn't ready to come." And so you think it's your choice. I thought I was scheduled. I knew the day. I knew the whole thing. And it's like, nope, I need to be a Leo rising, and that's what I'm going to be. So
That
that
story.
was my experience.
I love that story so much because it's like this is one of the biggest things that Kabbalah teaches is that like we think we have all of these human desires, and at the end of the day, it's like the more that we can just ask the creator, like, creator, just show me, because like your plan is what's going to happen. Like we think we have all of these things that our human is going to make happen, but it's like the creator is working through all of us and like all of these souls with their, oh my gosh, especially like every soul is we choose all of these signs before we come in and we choose
Yeah.
the parent. We choose all of it. And
Yeah.
so I think that we even have like
I,
whenever,
I just want to add one more thing to what you're saying.
yeah,
Yes, what you're saying is true. However, I'll say, and it is a two-way street.
yes.
That's what it's God creates the scenarios, but it all comes from our desire. This
Mhm.
world exists because our one collective soul had a desire to be like the creator, and the creator couldn't give it to us in the state that we were in. So our desire, like I do a whole thing in coaching about desire, because desire is critical to to Kabbalah and any other spirituality. We activate the creator through our desire. If I didn't ever have a desire, Jasmine, to have a child, to actually find out why I didn't want a child, I wouldn't have had a child. I would have gone through this life. The creator would have given me many opportunities to try, right? But it had to come from me. I had to activate what the creator wanted for me. The creator wanted me to have a child. At 46, like I used no fertility drugs. It was all natural. When I had tests run, the doctors were telling me it was like I was a 32-year-old woman having a baby, not a 45-year-old woman. I'm like, I the creator gave me the scenarios. I had to activate the desire.
Mhm.
And I think it's really important. That's what spirituality is teaches me. And that's why I'm passionate about desire,
Yeah.
because go
Yeah.
ahead, sorry.
Well, no, no, I'm so glad you brought that up because like I think a big part too is like with Kabbalah, like we are co-creators with the creator.
Yep.
It's not just like which I think is was kind of always my struggle with a lot of traditional religions is it's like God's will and that's it. And whereas like, just like you're saying, like the creator, one of my like beliefs that I've taken on from Kabbalah is the creator wants me to have it all. The creator
Yep.
wants us to have it all. And so it's like the creator wants to give to us, but in order to give to us, we have to know what we want. So we have to
We have,
ask. We have to then open ourselves up to be a channel to receive that. And it's like it's not just like this creator, tell me, tell me, tell me. It's like, no, like become a co-creator with the creator because the creator wants a collaborator. The creator doesn't
yep.
want just you to be, you
Yeah.
know, you instruct your whatever. It's like, no, the creator wants us to be a 50-50 with him.
Yeah. And if we're not, that's when the universe seemingly delivers us hard times.
Yeah.
Because if we're not being proactive in that process, then the wake up call is the crap that happens in our lives that we don't like.
Yeah. Well, and also like another big thing that Kabbalah has taught me is that our challenges are not bad. Like I think something I feel like I learned when I started studying spirituality was like if bad things happen, it's like because you're not in alignment and because you've done something wrong and you're just out of alignment. But it's like Kabbalah teaches that a challenge, and I just would like love to hear your interpretation or way that you would describe this. But like our challenges are it's like our growth and it's that we're ready for our next level. And it's not that we've done anything bad or wrong. It's like this new version of you requires you to be at this next level, and therefore the challenge is like the portal to that.
Yep, 100%. I mean, every challenge is just, and I know it sounds cliche, but it is an opportunity. And, I always use this as like a coaching method. If you can imagine, like our lives are a series of ladders that we're climbing, right? And you start at the bottom of one. So you start when you're born. And what is the thing that you have to climb up? You have to climb up learning how to eat, eat solid food and learn how to walk and learn how to talk and learn how to go to the bathroom by yourself, not wear a diaper and all those things, right? As we get older, we're so much more aware of what the challenges is. So then I use the example of like you're in college or you go to school and so then you graduate from middle school to high school to college and through each one it's getting harder and harder. Well, what happens is that when we are out in the world and we're creating our own ladders now, it's not a prescribed have to get here kind of ladder. We have those challenges and whatever it is, and we feel so good and we get to the top of the ladder. And then what happens is that we know to grow, right? We have to take the leap to the next ladder, and we're going to be at the bottom of the top of a higher ladder. And that's going to include having challenges because we have to go up the ladder. So what we do to ourselves is we push away challenges. We sit on the top of the ladder and we're happy. And I look at billionaires, like those guys are sitting on top of a freaking ladder. They're on top of one too, right? Yes, they may have done everything, they've got all the money, but like, what's their next big thing? And so we get comfortable at the top of that ladder and we push away challenges instead of grabbing the bottom of the next ladder and saying, okay, I'm going to relish this. I know challenges are coming, but I don't care. I'm going to be excited about it and I'm going to do what I can to face them in my most elevated way. And
Mhm.
so I always encourage people like get off the top of the freaking ladder,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. If everything is going great, you're not growing.
Exactly. If you have no challenges, you're really stuck.
Yeah. Oh, that's so big.
I'm sorry, it sucks.
No, it's good. So how do you, I've never, I don't think I've ever heard in my studying Kabbalah. Do you know how many tikkuns we have?
There's not a prescribed number because also what you do in every lifetime, you also have the opportunities to create more.
Right.
It's really,
That's why I was like
so
curious because we're like we can overcome a tikkun, but
sure,
there's more.
totally.
So there's
I
not like
always I
a
always look at it I
oh,
always look at it as like we're this big onion and you peel off one layer and then there's more and you peel off another and then there's more. So it's you, the way I understand it, and I am not a Kabbalah teacher, so please bear with me, but the way I understand it is that you don't really know how much work you've truly done on your cocoon until you leave this world. And then you get to see really how much you did or didn't do. But the effort, by the way, Jasmine, is always recognized. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I love that part of Kabbalah. It's like as long as you're trying, you're getting soul points.
You are, and it's funny, I was reading something from the Zohar, which is the foundational book of Kabbalah. I was studying with somebody this morning, and it was a beautiful section just, just about that. It's like it it's like if you're I mean, it uses words that are ancient that I don't like, but let's say you're falling into your cocoon, okay? And you're just accepting, like you're accepting your dark side, your shadow side. You're saying, "Hey, it's okay. Look, what? I'm not hurting anybody. I'm not doing anything. It's all I'm doing is hurting myself," right? If that's what you're doing and you're not finding a way to connect to the creator, that's worse than knowing you have that cocoon and trying to connect, trying to show your effort, knowing because the creator in this world does not expect perfection from us, but it's more evil, more bad. I hate to say the word evil, but more negative to just say, to give up and say, It's just who I am."
Totally. Yeah. And for people listening too, so we all have, tikkuns and we can have layers like our soul tikkuns that our soul like wants to work through, but also um you can look up your astrology sign and each astrological sign correlates with a specific tikkun. So like Scorpio, and it's so fascinating because every time in David Guillaume's events, it's like you can tell, oh, this person is having this challenge. And it's so tied into their astrological sign, and it
Yeah.
is so wild. So, like Scorpios, our tikkun is control. And
Yep.
oh my goodness, is
Right.
that so true for me?
It's true. And that's what I was saying about Aries or Leo, like we're all about us first,
Yeah,
Now we come at it from different angles,
yeah,
the Aries is different than the Leo, but yeah, so one of the big things about particularly in Aries is to like literally put other people before them,
yeah.
not make it all about them,
Mhm.
and for me, like of course my soul chose to be an Aries for at least the part of me that was afraid to have children, because
Oh,
having
yep,
a child is like 100% you're putting them first.
totally. That makes so much sense. That makes so much sense. Yeah. So if anyone's like curious, you can go look up what one of your tikkuns is with your based off of your astrological sign. And it is so wild when you start hearing people. When I hear, that's why I always, when I work with people, I always want to know what their astrological, I want to know their human design and I want to know their astrology because I know that then the problem that they're coming to me with, I can view it for, oh, this is, so their tikkun is this, and
100%.
therefore I
by the
can
way
help them.
by the way, Cocoon is really predominant when you look at the North Node sign and South Node. Um,
Okay.
and a lot of times you can see it in, well, Saturn and also the Chiron, the wounded healer.
Hmm. So the
So
tikkun, so you would look at the tikkuns in those signs too, is what you're saying?
yeah, if I'm looking at your North Node is in Sagittarius, right? So Sagittarians on the very positive side are all the things that I was telling you. On the Cocoon side, it's, you don't, the Sagittarius doesn't, like I keep saying, they don't like process, right? They get very uh impatient and frustrated, and they just want to know, and that leads to being a control freak a lot of times because they're trying to manipulate the the outcome because they want to know what the outcome is, right?
Because that's what
So
Scorpio, because control is Scorpio. So is it just like different flavors of that control?
different flavors. So of course you have, because you have a cocoon that is also connected with not wanting to go through the process, you actually have a lot of signs in your chart, that's the Scorpio signs in your chart that are going to attract that feeling of needing to be in control because you're trying to break a cocoon that started over here, right? So now it's like, okay, now I'm going to give you, but also the process when the Scorpio actually listens to their intuition, they don't have to control because they know what's happening,
Mm-hmm.
right? And they know how to deal with it if they really start to understand what their power is.
Mm-hmm.
So, and also, Sagittarians are free spirits too. So that helps you not to have control. Like Sagittarians love to travel and they love to explore and they love to experience. So it doesn't surprise me that your North Node is in Sagittarius and what your soul chose to help you deal with that. So you can see it in a couple different places.
Yeah. And you said also with the Chiron, that's really fascinating because my Chiron is in Leo.
Chiron is the wounded healer. So again, it's about your healing your wounds and your wounds.
So the
So
restaurant being seen.
exactly.
Interesting. Okay. So
Also telling you that again, that's an indicator that your cocoon is around also being out front, being out in the front of people and because Leos like to be in front of people, but they're very again about uh how do I say it? Like they like to be in front of people, but only in the ways that they want to be. Like they have to be adored, right? So in a way, you have the Scorpio that doesn't want to even be seen, right? So if you're able, so you've been given a hiding place, but that wound in being put out front and not being accepted or loved or acknowledged means that you need to get out in front. You
it's so
need to learn how to
fascinating.
deal with that.
It's so fascinating because when I was like a child, I was like into, I wanted to be an actress and a singer and a model. And I was like dead set on, I loved being on stage. I loved it. It was my favorite thing ever. And it was so funny because my mom was like, how do you do this? Like my mom's super shy. And I'm like, no, I love it. I'm really good at it. And I was just like, I wouldn't even practice because I was like, I'm just going to channel what I need to say and
Mm-hmm.
channel it. If I think it, I'm going to overthink it. I'm just going to step
Mm-hmm.
up and I can do it. Right. And I was like, very dead set on like this career path for a very long time. And then the universe and the creator had different plans for me. But I think it's really fascinating because like through my growth and spiritual awakening and all of these things, it's like it's taken on such a different flavor and like I have more like I've noticed like more insecurities come up along the way that I've had to work through.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're saying, it's like that next rung on the ladder of like it was really easy, but because it was really easy, I had to then go to the next level and the next. I'm
Right.
like piecing this together as I'm saying it. Is that
Yeah,
track? Does that make sense?
totally. Totally makes sense.
Hmm.
Totally makes sense. But it's also, again, why you've got, you're being pushed in the areas that you're being pushed, right? The Venus and Sagittarius being an educator, being a guide, a teacher, the North Node in Sagittarius saying the same thing, having the Jupiter in Libra. Like, here's where the wound is, but your soul gave you all the tools you need to get out there again. This
Hmm.
time without the ego, right?
Yeah.
The ego that comes with that Leo needing for it, needing acknowledgement and needing to be valued. Like now you have the tools to get out there and do it for the good of others.
Yes. Oh,
So do you see how it's connected?
that landed really deep when you said that. Yeah, that makes so much sense. So, okay. Well, as everyone can see, this wisdom is so valuable for understanding yourself, for like understanding your purpose, relationships. Wendy had also like tuned she read my chart with another person, and it's like this stuff is so valuable. And I think when you understand the astrology and then understand these deep Kabbalistic teachings, it's changed my life. And obviously you studying it for 30 years, like that's so incredible. So what are some ways that people can work and connect with you?
So you can find me at www.pathfinder1to1.com. That's Pathfinder, the number one, number 1.com. I'm also on social media under either that or at Wendy Rosenthal. Um, I highly recommend. So I offer, chart readings, as I said, but also taking the information from your chart, which I think is really important, and then I coach people to embody it and to actually use the information. So I'm really of the belief and that's for me what I was saying earlier, like I help people become a sovereign executive. When you're a sovereign executive, you're going here first. Sovereign executives look at their charts and say, okay, this is scenarios happen. Let me go take a look at why I might be reacting this way. And then they come from their internal authority instead of just being reactive to everything that's going on in the world. So I use the chart to help my clients embody what they want to embody in a way that is really what their soul is wanting. So you can see all of my coaching services and all of the chart readings that I offer. And I would always recommend hitting up Kabbalah.com, because the Kabbalah Center, like I said, that's my spiritual home. I credit everything to what I've learned there through the teachers and through the connection to the Zohar, which is like I said, the foundational book of that. I'm always up for a great conversation. So you can always find me at Wendy@pathfinder121.com.
Amazing. And we will put all of those links in the show notes. And yeah, go check out her services and go check out the Kabbalah Center, because I equally agree that it is just that wisdom is so expansive and beautiful and has changed both of our lives. So with that, thank you so much for being on, Wendy. It was so wonderful chatting with you.
Oh, Jasmine, I'm so grateful for the opportunity, and I love talking with you all the time. You and I could sit for hours,
I
which
know.
I hope that we do soon.
I know. Likewise. All right, everyone. We'll find all of the links below. And with that, I'm just sending you all infinite love and light.